Hello, everyone, and welcome to Retire with Clarity. I'm your host, Paul Gephardt, with my co-host today, Chris Massenburg and John Lawton of OpenAir Advisers. Guys, welcome back to the program.
Good to be
How's
back.
it going, Paul?
Good. It's really good, and it's good to be with you guys.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
So listen, we're going to talk a little bit about the phases of retirement planning, but what I wanted to jump into today specifically is, some of the pitfalls that you see. I mean, what are some of the most common things in retirement that people are doing that is causing them a pitfall? John?
Sure, I'll start.
Yeah, go.
I'll start with this one,
Okay.
Paul. We see a lot of folks every day that coming in. We're doing a lot of plans for a lot of folks right now, especially because there's a lot of folks who have spent some time off over the last year and are coming back in the office and saying, I'm not sure this is right. Maybe it's time for me to retire. And so as we're doing that, we're seeing a lot of folks with the 401ks, and we're reviewing a lot of those 401ks. And, there's probably the number one thing that I see that's a pitfall is people starting too late. So let me just say this, and it should be as you're talking to your kids, as you're talking early and often. When should you start planning, or when should you start saving for retirement? Early and often. The more that you can get, a lot of folks, a lot of companies are offering matches. I would say take all the free money, right? Let's make sure that we're at least minimum getting the maximum out of the company, the maximum free money from the company. But beyond that, I have a lot of folks that come in and say, John, I'm maxing out my 401k. Their company matches 3%. Well, guess what their contribution rate is?
What?
3%.
Oh.
Well, now you can contribute $19,500 plus, if you're over 50, you can do a $6,500 catch-up. That's $26,000 that you can be putting into your 401k. It might be 10%, it might be 15% that you're able to contribute to that plan. And if you truly are going to max out that plan, it might be a much higher percentage to get you to those higher numbers. That's a lot of work that we do with some of our folks that are still working. Is let's look at that and make sure that you're getting everything you can out of those dollars. Obviously, it goes into your budget, whatever you can afford to do.
Right.
We see that. We see a lot of folks getting right up to retirement. Let me just stop real quick. The level of risk that you're taking when you are growing your assets, when you're young, when you're 30 years old, you take a lot more risk than whenever you're getting really close to retirement.
Sure.
And so we see a lot of folks that have the same 30-year-old portfolio, a portfolio designed for a 30-year-old, and today they're coming to me and they're 60 years old. It should be something very, very different.
So they're not transitioning their frame of thought, right, on retirement.
That's exactly right. They haven't changed their risk profile through those years. Conversely, we see a lot of folks that, in March last year, we had a major correction in the market, a very scary few days where the market was just dropping precipitously over those last couple of days. And we saw some folks do the exact opposite, which was put everything into cash, put everything into bonds, and be too safe. Well, is that going to be the portfolio that's going to get you through retirement? So those are probably the biggest things I see. And another one that we see a lot is, you've been with an advisor for, a number of years, 5, 10 years. You've never gotten it reviewed, and your loyalty is to the advisor. It's not to the portfolio into your retirement. And I would just say, as we're talking through all these things, it's personal responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? The responsibility is not the employer to get you retired. The responsibility is not the government through Social Security to get you retired. It's not to your advisor to get you retired. It's your responsibility.
You're right.
And so you have to be empowered with the information and the knowledge to have the portfolio that's going to get you to and through retirement. So
That's a good point. Because in the end, who's going to live with the decisions you made? If you kept that relationship just for that relationship of a friend instead of the business of retirement, you're going to live with that business decision.
that's right.
Right? You are not that advisor.
That's exactly right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Let me ask you guys, how important is it for someone to work with a fiduciary? Right? And exactly what is a fiduciary, first of all?
No, that's a great question. I think it's absolutely imperative that you work with a fiduciary. The reason being, and as John's mentioned in the past, we're all fiduciary advisors at OpenAir Advisers. It really just means that we're going to have your interest ahead of our own. ahead of the companies. So much like a doctor or an attorney has a fiduciary obligation to do what's in your best interest, you want your advisor to have that same responsibility, both ethically and legally. And so that fiduciary responsibility falls on us, again, to do what's in the best interest of the client. And just to kind of piggyback on his points earlier, some of the pitfalls, procrastination, I just want to tackle that one thing. I've seen a lot of folks that put off planning for retirement.
Oh, you ain't kidding.
Because, hey, when I get there or I'm close enough,
Yeah.
then I'll just figure it out. And then last year was this big driving factor where a lot of people got forced to work from home, or maybe they wanted to make that decision and step out of the workforce and fully retire. Now maybe I'm not going to procrastinate anymore. Let me go put that plan together. And then they found out they didn't have a real written plan. So that's another area where people don't have a plan in place. And so by having that procrastination and then not having that written plan, turns out you might have to work longer. Or maybe you're in the other boat where you're fortunate enough where just getting a written plan, you can actually retire earlier. And that's honestly probably my favorite part of my job is helping folks retire and figure out that they can do it when they come to us. But ultimately, again, it's about putting the clients first, and that's where that fiduciary responsibility comes into play.
I love that. It's interesting. Let's talk about the procrastination aspect again, because you brought that up, and I think that's a real important part, because think about this. How hard do you want to work when you're 70 years old?
Oh, I don't want to work when I'm 70 years old.
Right. But if we're procrastinating, John, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? I
Sure.
mean, this is something, we can't pass this off, and we know Americans love to procrastinate. And it's one thing to procrastinate maybe buying that new suit or something, right? Something like that. But we're talking about your retirement. The word procrastination you cannot afford for it to be there. It should not be in the conversation. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely. Most people spend more time planning a vacation than
Yes.
they might their retirement.
Absolutely.
And one of them's supposed to last 20 or 30 years.
Great point.
Right? Not
Yeah.
the vacation. No, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But
And
the
you're
other-
talking about the vacation of a lifetime now,
Yes.
right? That's the way it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
Should be.
Exactly. And then, the other thing is if you were going to have a medical procedure, think about it like this. If you had to have surgery, you'd want a plan of action after that surgery to rehab or go through physical therapy
Yes, you
to get
would.
back up to par.
Yes, you would.
You would never go into that blindly.
No, you're
So
right.
you don't want to put off this retirement plan. You want this thing to be in place so that you can follow that guideline and adjust accordingly, but also to your point, so it lasts the rest of your life, 20, 30 years. And then you want to work with a fiduciary that will put that plan together in your best interest, not theirs.
Guys, you have a special offer for the viewers today. Would you mind sharing that with the folks out there?
That's exactly right. For the folks in Dallas that are listening or watching the show today, we do what's called a Clear Path retirement guide, where basically we spend some time with you in the office and we learn about you, your hopes, your dreams, your goals, what it's going to take, what your personal situation is going to take you in retirement. What we'll do is an analysis on your existing portfolio. And I think this is so important because we're going to learn the level of risk that you want to take. More importantly, we're going to learn the risk that it's going to take to get you through retirement. We're going to dig into your portfolio through an X-ray to understand fees, risk, interest rate risk, inflation risk, all those other things. It's a 60-page report that will go through in depth your existing portfolio. From there, we build an income plan, showing you how we're going to take an income from your portfolio. We have another March like we did last year, and the market drops. The worst thing you could do is be pulling from assets that have lost value. Well, how are we going to build a portfolio that's going to be able to survive those ups and downs of the market? We'll show you what that looks like. Finally, we'll give you a tax plan. So many folks have saved so much money in retirement, in their 401ks and all of those retirement plans, and don't realize the idea in deferring taxes was you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. Well, here's another spoiler alert, Chris. Some of you guys have done such a great job. You're not going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. You're going to actually be in either the same tax bracket in retirement. And do we think taxes are going to go up, or do we think they're going to stay the same?
Oh, man, maybe we should talk about that when we come
Well,
back.
yeah,
right?
maybe.
We most certainly will do that. Now, you opened up a good question for discussion. But it's a great point, John. I mean, to John's point, that's what this is about. This is a complimentary review to make sure that you have a tax strategy, right? You're talking about the vacation of your life. And it's not about surviving retirement. It should be about thriving in it. It should be about doing what it is you want to do when you want to do it. But that starts with you because you're in control. You have to be. The government is no longer in control over your retirement. Let's face it. We cannot live on Social Security. It's not enough. Your employers, they've already shown they're not really willing to take that liability anymore. Guess who that leaves? You. You're in control of your retirement. You got to take control today. Procrastination, not an option. Okay? You have to call 844-333-6059. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to Retire with Clarity. I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt. My co-host today is John Lawton and Chris Massenburg of OpenAir Advisers. Guys, thank you again for being with us, and what an incredible segment. I mean, we're talking again about the importance of planning, not procrastinating, and being prepared, right? Because again, this is the vacation of our lives. This is what the sacrifice has been paid, right? Why we paid that sacrifice. So now I want to jump into something, and let's go into what specifically goes into someone building that plan.
Sure.
John.
Yeah, and we're talking about the offer. We're talking about what we provide to our clients and the value, the valuable tools and services that we offer. The first thing is, and I'll just give you the example of a retiree, someone who came into the office recently. He's a defense contractor. Working for, in Dallas, we have several of those that are in the area, and we do a lot of work with defense contractors. And so I'm spending a little bit of time with him and his family, basically him and his wife, sitting down for an hour to learn about them, to learn about, number one, their accounts, right? We got to learn about their family, the level of risk that they're willing to take inside their plan. Some folks will come in and the ups and downs of the market, they're just not willing to take those anymore.
Yeah.
They've gotten to this level and March just scared them to death. And
they're tired of riding that roller coaster.
They're tired of riding that roller coaster, exactly right. And so basically what we do is an analysis of their overall plan. First off, we're learning about them, their goals, what they want their retirement to look like. Then we get to work, right? And so we're talking to them about all the different statements. Hopefully they're organized or they've gotten organized. Sometimes the first appointment is a get organized meeting where we talk about the statements that we need to be able to put together the plan. Essentially, we need to know everything about you. Any big purchases that you want to make in retirement, what kind of income and budget it's going to take you to have the lifestyle that you're looking for in retirement. Everyone's different. In the past, and we talked about it a little earlier, everyone's different. There's not one magic number. It's not I saved $1 million and now I can retire. But basically what we're doing is we're aggregating all of that information. We're putting it into a planning software. And we're putting each one of those pieces. We're going to want to know about the children and where they live and all those other things. Do you want to take one vacation a year or do you want 5? Do you have a big purchases? Do we need to be doing any work on the home now before you're actually retiring? Do we need to budget money for all those different things? But we get really granular in that meeting to really understand you. By doing that, we can put your situation into report world. And once it's in report world, that gives us the opportunity to look at it, turn up the risk, turn up the risk, turn down the risk, work with your taxes through Roth conversions. Is it pertinent to be paying more taxes today so that we're going to save you taxes in retirement? We're going to look at your Social Security. Do we want to turn it on immediately when you retire, or does it make sense to delay? Inside that report world, we can make adjustments and see, does it improve our probability of success? Does it improve the plan, or does it hurt the plan? As a fiduciary advisor, and we talked a little bit about that, and Chris talked a little bit about fiduciary advisors and what that means. There's two different kinds of advisors.
Yeah.
There are brokers and there are advisors. In 2010, there was a really neat Forbes article that talked about the area of fiduciary advisors. There was a survey that was done. It said only about 92% of advisors that you see are really just investment consultants. They're really just talking to you about product.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the, we talked about pitfalls a little earlier. I think that's a big pitfall that a lot of people are susceptible to in today's environment. And I would just say for our firm and the guys and the people that I work with, my friends that I work with in this firm, we do full financial planning. What this is a full financial plan so that we can give you the confidence to make the right decisions. How are you going to take Social Security? Is it right when you retire, or does it make sense to delay? If it improves the plan, let me say this as well. I'm the guide. You're going to make the decisions. I'm the guide. I'll tell you if it's a good decision or could it use some improvement. But you're going to be making those decisions. The plan is going to help guide us. That plan is, when you tell me, John, I think there's an opportunity, I think I want to take more risk in the portfolio, I'm going to go back to the plan. Does it make sense? Do we have room for that? Can we do that? And it's going to help you be successful in retirement. You guys were talking about trips, and man, I'd go back to talking about vacations. That sounds like a lot more fun than reporting.
That's what we're doing this for.
How much time do we have?
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I want to piggyback on something you're talking about right now that, listen, because I have folks ask me, they say, Paul, how do I know how to pick a good advisor? How do I know who's a good retirement specialist? But listen, it starts with something John actually just said. It's someone that interviews you and then listens. They have to be able to listen to what your dreams are, what your goals are. What family members are involved? What do you want to do with those family members? What time do you want to do that? They have to be willing to listen. The alarm you have is when they're doing all the talking and they're not doing any listening. They can't build a plan around you. You got to not walk out, you got to run out, right? Start with that. Have somebody interview you, find out what your goals are, not their goals, what your goals are. They work for you. Am I right or wrong, gentlemen?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Chris, what do you think, man? When it comes to financial planning, right? And folks are going through these different pitfalls and these phases, right? What is one of the areas that you see folks tend to overlook?
I think that a lot of folks, especially here in the most recent couple of years, I think a lot of folks don't realize exactly how much risk they're taking within these investment portfolios, because we've had such a good run up in the market in the last few years, and I see it day in and day out almost. It gets to be redundant.
Yeah.
And people come in and they say, everything's been going great, been making a lot of money, I'm ready to retire, and they don't realize that the things that have been growing in the last few years are some of the more risky assets, some of the big large cap companies and the technology stocks that have the more risk involved. And so they don't have a good plan in place to rebalance those over time, to mitigate that risk and to keep it on track. John mentioned earlier, you wouldn't take the same amount of risk at 30 as you would at 70.
Yeah.
Right? At least you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think that's being overlooked a lot here in the last few years, is that folks just think that the good times are just going to keep on rolling. Last year we had this big bump down, with the virus coming around, and the market had a big pullback. But then it came right back, and it kind of lulled everyone back into this proverbial sleep, if you will, where we've had these portfolios perform over and over, and the party can't last forever. So
That's right.
Taking on too much risk, especially at the wrong time, is going to be a huge detriment to a lot of people, especially going into retirement. So, just also to kind of talk about John's point, a good fiduciary advisor is somebody that you can trust, and then, like to your point, somebody that you want to work with, that interviews you and wants to know about you. And in my world, I almost think that the investing side is the easiest part of my job. Right? Asset allocation, diversification, putting together a good portfolio, managing it over time to your goals and needs, I think is the more important part. again, taking on too much risk at the wrong time, and then not understanding how decisions today might impact you 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That's very important. So those are a couple of the pitfalls I see.
Okay, so you got somebody out there, they're curious right now, all right? They think they've got a couple pitfalls they got to deal with. Will you remind everybody out there what you're offering them if they call in?
Yeah, absolutely. So for everyone who calls in, we're offering a clear path retirement plan. This plan to you all, it's going to be about a 50, 60-page report, and it's going to go through some key areas. We're going to look at your overall portfolio. We're going to dive into that risk like I was just talking about. Are we taking on too much, or maybe we're not taking enough risk? Because we want that money to last a long time. So taking too little risk can be a risk as well. Then we want to dive into a full income plan for you. What does it look like to start taking income from that lump sum portfolio over the years? And then how do we plan for the variables and the surprises we know inevitably are going to come up? So we want to plan for that. Also, what kind of major expenses are going to be just down the road, and then we want to plan for those as well. And then to John's point earlier, Social Security. When is the right time to take Social Security? Not just when can I get the most dollar, but when does it make the most sense for me and my family to get the most efficient amount of money and tax efficient? How does it play with all these other areas in that portfolio? And then again, this tax efficiency, like I just talked about, is my portfolio as tax efficient as it can be? And how do we tweak that to make sure that we're not paying more than our fair share? And we can do all that through this clear path retirement plan that we put together for you. No cost or obligation. Just give our office a call, 844-333-6059.
And again, that's completely complimentary, but again, you have to take action. You've got to be the one. You wouldn't go on a journey without a map, without a guide. Why? Why would you go on a journey or the vacation of a lifetime without one? It's an opportunity to have that written guide, that plan you need. 844-333-6059. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to Retire with Clarity. I'm your host, Paul Gebhardt. I'm so glad you could be with us. Our co-host today has been John Lawton and Chris Massenburg of OpenAir Advisers. We were just talking about the importance of having that written plan. Heck, I was just thinking, I can't go across town anymore without using Google Maps. It's just the truth. This area is growing so much. I got to reference my phone, my map every day just to try to get across town. Can't even imagine surviving or thriving in retirement for 30, 40 years. So let's talk to that point. The importance, the facts, what the benefits are. Why is it so vital that they have that retirement plan written?
Paul, I think it's really interesting. There was a prospect in my office last week, and he actually works for an advisory firm. He's actually head of HR for this advisory firm, and he was coming to me, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's cool.
No, I thought it was great. And again, just to our point, hey, getting that second opinion, whether you're a big box, working with a big box advisor, a broker, or you've got a personal person that you're working with, having that second opinion, I think, is really important. This person was very smart. He had built an Excel spreadsheet that calculated the taxes on his Social Security, had built the portfolio analysis. He had an Excel spreadsheet where he had done a lot of the work that we do. And basically he had the different buckets, the dividends that he was going to receive, the Social Security that he was going to receive. He did have a small pension. He was one of the last few that had a small pension that was coming out.
Yeah.
And each year he had calculated the taxes, his tax bracket, and he had calculated the taxes. You know what was missing to his plan, Paul?
What?
When he turns 72, he's going to have to take a required minimum distribution. That number is not stagnant. We were talking about pitfalls earlier. One of the things that I see a lot is when we start retirement and we start taking an income from the portfolio.
Yeah.
We've heard the rule of 4%, right? We can take 4% from the portfolio and we should be able to use that in perpetuity, and we hear that a lot. The problem is it starts at 4%, but your IRA dollars, you have to distribute them over time. When you get into your 70s, it's around, when you start, it's a little under 4%.
Okay.
That grows to 4%. It grows above 4% in your 80s and 90s. I mean, it gets to be in your, 8 to 8%. I think 94, it's right around 10%.
Wow.
A distribution from that IRA. What his plan, he had done all of the work, and man, he had done a lot of the work. And it was well thought out. It was the best plan I'd ever seen someone do on their own. We have a planning software that we use, very complex planning software. It's complex for me, it's not complex for you. What we do when we get to know you in that first appointment is walk through, I'll put in the complex calculations to get everything in, but what it does is the output to it is very simple to understand. For his situation, it was very simple. Here's the income, here's that required minimum distribution. More importantly, here's what we need to do to keep you from hitting those higher tax brackets in retirement.
Yeah.
He had done all the work, but he was missing that one piece.
And that connects to every other piece.
Yeah.
It truly does, right?
That Rubik's Cube, right?
Yes,
we
it
change
does.
one
It
side, it
connects.
changes everything else.
That's great. If I could just add briefly, that's a really important point I think that you're making there, John, because if somebody works on cars every day and they go to talk to me, I don't know the first thing that they're talking about.
Bingo.
But this is something we do all day, every day.
Yes.
So you have the smartest individual around putting together a great plan.
I love it.
Get an expert to look at it.
That's right. And if you're a great do-it-yourselfer, it's great to get a second opinion, a second set of eyes, a different perspective. Right, guys?
That's right.
Again, the call is complimentary. The appointment is about you. You have to take action, right? Get that analysis. Let them give that risk assessment, a written plan that you can leave with, that roadmap through your retirement. But again, you've got to pick up the phone and take action today. I can't do it for you. Boy, I wish I could. 844-333-6059. We want to thank you so much for being with us. Be well and enjoy your retirement.